Let's do this. Joe, you want to get to a new segment here. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
Joe, so we're midway through the season, and one thing that I think is interesting that we're going to talk about here tonight is who would the 3 top Heisman Trophy candidates be? Now, you're going to go outright and pick a winner. I am not going to do that. But who are the 3 players that you would go with in your Heisman contender so far this year?
My 3 in this order, and I will just leave it at this, and we'll allow the context to play into the discussion here. Ashton Jeanty, Boise State, running back. Cam Ward, Miami, quarterback. And then number 3, who I think is probably going to fall off this list because he's been hurt and that the injuries, they might play into this and he might not be able to finish the season fully healthy. Travis Hunter, corner, wide receiver for Colorado.
I agree. Let me start off with here. Basically, we have the same 3 almost because Travis Hunter's on my list because of what he's done. However, a lot of me wanted to put Dylan Gabriel over him. Okay, I do not think Travis Hunter necessarily deserves right now at the current moment. He hasn't done more to me, even though he plays both sides, than what Dylan Gabriel has done. Nobody has done what he's done against that kind of opponent. Nobody. I mean, Joe, he's been the most consistent in certain situations. We've seen big quarterbacks this year really struggle in big games. Think of the big quarterbacks. Outside of Cam Ward, who we're going to talk about, name the big quarterbacks in this sport. Dylan Gabriel has been the cleanest. He's been the most explosive. So I'm going to say this because I didn't want to make this list be so quarterback heavy with 2 players in it. If you really asked me today, I would put Dylan Gabriel in this list, okay, over Travis Hunter. But Travis Hunter is just such a unicorn for me that I'm just like, yeah, man, but he's out there catching passes. He's got 604 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, Joe, he's almost averaging a touchdown a game that he plays, right? He's played 6 games. He's averaging a touchdown a game. He's averaging 100 yards a game. And by the way, he's playing defense. So there comes a part where it's like, but Travis Hunter, I mean, it's just so unique in what he's doing.
Right.
Pick one for me, but my 3rd guy would be either Travis Hunter or Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, to that point, I don't know if I'd go with Dylan Gabriel in that spot. And I think that there's room for somebody to like go on a run here. And I don't know who it's going to be. I think that there's going to be more emergence for some of the quarterbacks of some of these top teams. Again, I'm not really sure. It seems like a lot of times when there's not a clear answer, the award is won weeks 9 through 13 through the final parts of the season. So
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that to what we're talking about here, I think Travis Hunter plays himself out of it just because like he plays so much football and it's catching up to him. It feels like it's going to be really hard for him to get healthy.
I 100% agree. Here's the thing though. If you're asking me halfway through the year, this isn't a matchup for me. This isn't close. It's Cam Ward and then the field. I mean, Joe, think about this. Cam Ward's 1 touchdown away from tying his passing touchdowns from a year ago. Now, I don't like the comparisons to Jaden Daniels from last year that people are trying to do. You can't take out rushing yards for Jaden Daniels and he only had 1 less touchdown. You can't do that. That's abysmal. Joe, I got to go with Cam Ward here, man. I mean, Cam Ward is arguably the best player in the game right now. I don't think that and because the position that he plays, it's what makes that number 1 offense in the country go.
I think that to that degree, I think that realistically towards the end of the season, Cam Ward will win the award because he's going to be on an undefeated Miami team. I'm projecting and believe that they will finish undefeated the way that they're winning games. And they're winning games because of his heroics, like his ability to finish drives and make these big plays. The award is, and somebody was commenting about how it's like the most influential person for their team. That's very true for Miami. But if they're having this record and they go undefeated in ACC play and he continues to make plays in these primetime slots and everybody's oohing and eyeing, which everybody does every single week, the media takes notice. The media takes notice of that. However, it has to be brought up, and I think it's really I'm stunned that you'd be willing to go Dylan Sampson over Ashton Jeanty. If Ashton Jeanty doesn't get hurt, which to the degree of the usage that he has at the current moment, I don't think that he does because he doesn't even have that many touches so far this year. He's got only 126 carries to this point, more than halfway through the season, and he's got 1,240
Samson
rushing
got
yards.
144.
Say it again.
Samson only has 144 touches.
He's got 120. That's a whole less game worth of touches. That's more touches than he has.
Okay, but he's
carries
also
than he has.
okay, fair. But he's also getting the rock and putting the team on his back to get wins.
He's averaging.
Ashton Jeanty doing it week in and week out against these opponents. He ain't doing that.
He's averaging 4 yards. First of all, if he was on an SEC team, which I really wish part of me, I'm glad that he stayed at Boise State, but part of me kind of wishes it'd be really exciting if he was on a team like Alabama or a team like Georgia right now, because he'd probably be doing even crazier shit. But he's got 4 yards per carry better average when he touches the rock. And 9.9 yards per carry.
And he's playing Ash Cheek State, Rudy Putek, and Dumpster Street Bourbon Water.
If he didn't have the numbers that he had on the ground, I'd understand that argument. But when he's in this ridiculous category, this upper category that's just so astronomical, the pace that he's on, it doesn't matter as much.
Dude, you realize what Dylan Sampson did last week, right?
I did. He had a great game. He's a good running back. He's a great running back.
Dude, he's carrying that offense that's really bad in moments on his back.
What's Ashton Jeanty doing?
But he's doing it again. One's got different opponents, Joe. One's got different opponents, and you know that.
If he breaks the single game rushing touchdown and yardage record, are you still not going to give him the award?
Joe, he's averaging 3 touchdowns in the SEC a game. Is Dylan Sampson. I mean, are you
those are good stats. Those are great stats. It's great performances.
Well, you want to throw out one guy gets 9.9 yards a carry against Ash Cheek State. Well, my guy's got more touchdowns.
He did it against Oregon.
I don't get when Oregon was really bad, and you know that.
They weren't really bad. They're really bad is a negative.
They were playing bad. But don't you dare come in here and tell me that Dylan Sampson, who's had to carry his entire team against better competition every single week as a running back, isn't just as impressive.
There is a difference in the yardage and the accumulation of the plays in the context of some of those touchdowns. A lot of those touchdowns that Dylan Sampson gets are in the red zone at the goal line.
Who got him to the red zone?
A lot of the
Who got him to the red zone?
Not just purely him, because then he'd have more rushing yards than 800.
Oh, he had 100 rushing yards in the second half on the number 22 rushing defense in the country.
Ashton Jeanty is doing this purely off of like big, huge chunk plays. Like he is running in and out of everybody. He is the most untackleable. He is the most gifted player in the country at the current moment on any team.
Okay,
and because he's at Boise State, to put up the numbers that he's doing, he has to be ridiculously gifted. Competition or no competition, it deserves recognition.
No, it deserves recognition. But again, there comes a part where when one dude's doing it in the primetime lights against a primetime opponent, it weighs more.
He's got 400 more yards than him. It's not like we're comparing 900 to 800. He's got
more touchdowns.
They have the same amount of touchdowns.
No, maybe that's smudged.
Jeanty is 17 and
okay.
Sampson is 17.
Well, then that's smudged on my stats here. Okay, all right, so fair. But the 17 touchdowns aren't created equally, and you know that.
You're right. One of them's getting a lot of those in the goal line, and one of them is getting in space, and he's creating those plays for himself.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind that you can't look at level of competition on any conference and say one is bigger than the other.
No, I do that. I 100% recognize that, but I would argue it blows my mind that you're not willing to give a guy credit just because he's playing in the Mountain West.
You told me to put 3 people on here. 3.
Yes.
Midway through the season.
Yes.
And I think there's a massive difference, okay, when you look at one guy and who he's doing it up against than somebody else.
If their stats were the same, that argument would be valid, but he is blowing past
Joe, you literally just said that they had the same amount of touchdowns. So that they do have a major statistic that
he's got 400 more yards on less carries.
Okay. And I could make the argument if he lined up against Bama today, he would get his shit kicked in. If he lined up,
No. If we took it, no. Here's the better answer. If we took Ashton Jeanty and he played for Tennessee this week, he would have a bigger game.
no, he wouldn't.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.